All
Okay.
right. Atma Namaste, everyone.
Atma
Atma
Namaste.
Namaste, Sundar.
Atma Namaste. Hey, Liza.
Hi. Right.
So,
This week we are recording. We are not going on live. So the topic that we are going to share this week is about true wealth. So Sundar, you would like to start with
yeah. So welcome everyone. So this week we're talking about true wealth and what is wealth really, and how we think about living our lives, how we think about what is important and what is temporary. So we're going to attempt, this is a very big topic. We're going to attempt our best to link some philosophy, some spiritual teachings, which is very universal. Every spiritual teacher says the same thing. So we're trying to link this into daily life and what we can focus on and what we can do and how we can look at things to develop ourselves. So maybe you are already doing some of this, and good job. And maybe some areas we just need a hint or a nudge where to improve on or what to look into, because nobody ever told you before, or nobody ever told me before. So this will be a good place to start. Right?
That's good.
So
Great.
so Liza, you were telling me about what does true wealth mean to you? What does wealth for a person, for our lives, mean to you?
Well, many of us, we look at wealth, we link it to monetary wealth, isn't it? Yeah, we measure our wealth by how big our house is, what car do we drive, all the monetary things that you can acquire.
Yeah,
right?
By net worth, right?
Yes, correct. So to me, I look at it as wealth is such a large thing. You don't only look at monetary, but there are things that you are able to acquire. We come from within us, from inside us, right? That I would say that this wealth is something that you carry with you all the time. Yeah. So wherever we go, we know that we are fulfilled in that sense. Yeah, the fulfillment is very different, because monetary fulfillment, you can find it outside, external, right? So when situation comes in, like currently, things are not going so well during the epidemic, right? And there are certain things that doesn't meet certain requirement anymore. We have to niche down in many things, our spending and all that. So this might sometimes create the stress in us, because these are all external stuff, that actually external things that we are looking at, measuring it in that sense to get our happiness, right? So if we are to cultivate that wealth within us, the virtues within us, then we carry that even on situation that is not so, we would say, that has a lot of challenges, then we will be able to actually bring this and manage the situation in a very calm side and calm emotion with it. That's exactly what I felt. That true wealth.
Yeah, and what you're saying really, a few weeks ago we were talking about this, right? The law of correspondence. What is within you is what will be reflected outside of you.
Yes, so, right.
Even when it comes to, a simple way to think about this is, even when it comes to monetary net worth, not everybody is successful. And a lot of people make mistakes. Some people still, commit like stealing or things like this, right? Which actually hurts your income. So I remember a story, actually, just talking about monetary net worth. About 15 years ago, the richest man in the world was Warren Buffett, and the second richest man in the world was Bill Gates. So there have been a lot of a lot of air about this, and one day they had set up a meeting where Warren and Bill finally met for the first time. So they had organized a meetup where they met, and it was supposed to be a quick meet just for the sake of the two richest men in the world getting to know each other. And they didn't have much in common because Warren was in stocks and businesses, and Bill was in tech, and tech was in a really exploded industry at the time. So I remember after, there was a report saying that Bill had canceled a few of his meetings after meeting with Warren for 1 hour because he was very interested in what this man had to say. And, this is just, again, their internal condition reflects their outer condition, right? So, and Warren, his comments on Bill as well, he's like, no matter what Bill Gates would have done, he would have been super, super successful. It's just that he chose the tech industry, because like you were saying, because of that internal condition, because of your attitude towards work, towards success, no matter what you do, you will be successful. Even I remember, I think his exact comments were, even if Bill Gates ran a burger stall, a burger joint, he would still be a very successful man, So it's because of his attitude, his internal condition, he would always project success. And that internal condition is what we're trying to talk about, right? One of the things that, Liza and I were discussing earlier was about what is it in a person that makes you successful, that makes you wealthy? Is it only money? Is it, some people would say family or your relationships, that's your net worth, right? Or some people would say it's your knowledge. Knowledge is power. So, what is this really, and how is it described in the spiritual teachings? Liza, can you share with us?
Yeah, I from what I learned and what I read, okay, in many spiritual teaching there is a Trinity within us, right? There is, yeah, and there's always a formula where when we look at, for me, when I started, I was a bit at loss, yeah, to know how do I proceed, how do I look at things. And everybody says that looking at things positively, but how do we look at things positively? But sometimes we are given a situation where life is so challenging, I can't even be positive. Yeah, that is it. The mind just has to go in a way where the situation is just directed to the situation. So we feel all the emotion, our thoughts are all running all over the place. Emotions are running all over the place and all that. So when I came into spiritual teachings, in many of the articles that I read, and also by the teachings of our teacher, Grandmaster Chua, and also by the teaching of Buddhism, right? Where I read that we actually have a Trinity within us, okay? And that by developing that Trinity, right? The virtues, the Trinity within us, we can actually be at our best when we come to a situation. So it doesn't mean that like when we develop, for example, last time when I was thinking, does it mean that when we have a desire, is that desire is bad? Right? So a desire, actually when I read in depth about it, actually these feelings that we have is normal. It's normal for us. But the thing is, maybe we do not know, or we are not very familiar with the teachings. So we think that because they said this is a set of things that you need to do, these are the set of things that is not good. So in our mind, the set of things that is not good is supposed to be discarded, right?
Yeah.
But the deeper understanding into it, the deeper truth about it is desire is there, all right? And desire is not bad.
Yeah.
Right? So by knowing the Trinity, by knowing the virtue in an in-depth understanding, we know that desire is there and it is not bad. It's only when it is out of control, if we are indulging, we are over-indulging on certain things, then, it gets out of control and our life will become a little bit messy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. So maybe on the Trinity side, Sundar,
Yeah.
would you like to share that?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right, right? Desires, too much of anything is poison, right? And and yeah, so this has been so a lot of these teachings are from Master Trust and from his courses and stuff that we learned about. So one of the things is that there is the supreme being that sometimes people call like the source or the universal being or God, whatever term you're familiar with. It's supposed to be
Creator.
like, yeah, or the creator. It's supposed to be omnipotent, very powerful. It's supposed to be omnipresent, being everywhere, and then omni-intelligent, knowing everything, right? And all these qualities into one being sometimes can be very difficult to understand for the human brain. so
Yes, right.
these qualities are also, the trinity of qualities are also represented in a lot of things. So it's always referred to as, in different ways, as divine light, divine love, and divine power. Right? Sometimes it's also, light is also known as intelligence or wisdom, and then love is love, and power is the ability to get things done. So if we look at a lot of what we're trying to accumulate, our desires and things like this, which category does this fall in, and how are we trying to develop? So earlier we were saying that the ability to get things done, is that power, or the ability to have loving relationships and a good family and a good support system, is that your true wealth, or is it knowledge? Ultimately, some people would believe that only if you know enough about something, or the more you know, the more you feel you don't know. So it all comes to knowledge in the end. Knowledge is the real power, right? And what we'd notice is that most people would be slightly stronger in one aspect, and then they would overdevelop that aspect. But the truth is, actually, we need all three. We need light, love, and power. And if I remember a quote from Master Chua, he was saying that if you have only light and love and no power, this would manifest as laziness. So you're a very smart person, you're a very loving person, but you do nothing, right? And the second one is, if you had light and power but no love, so this manifests as cruelty. So you're a very intelligent person, you get a lot of things done, but then you don't care about people, you don't care about who gets hurt in the process, you don't care who benefits, you only care about certain interests, and it would manifest as cruelty. So, and the third one was power and love without intelligence, right? This manifests as it manifests as stupidity. Because you're very loving, you want to help a lot of people, and you have the ability to get things done, so you go and do stuff, but you never think about what you're doing, so you're always spending your resources, your time in the wrong places, and you might not even be maximizing your potential or your resources, and so it manifests as stupidity most of the time. So when you realize that you need all three, you need the love, you need the light, and the power aspect, and where you're lacking, you need to develop that. It starts to become clear that this is how you get a wholesome system. So like Liza was saying, when you have certain desires, right? Some desires are wholesome, some desires are unwholesome. So you also want to be aware, if you're overly engaged in certain desires, in one aspect, like only power, for example, right? Then you would be led to certain desires that may be unwholesome. Okay. And if you have a more balanced aspect, if you're thinking that, okay, I'm a very industrious person, I can get things done all the time, then you want to be thinking, but am I also kind in my approach? Am I also using my resources efficiently? You want to start thinking about the other aspects too.
Right. And I guess that is very, very true, Sundar. If you can see the screen right now, I've shared the virtues and the Trinity here. Yeah. That is actually something that I feel that many of us, including myself, right, do not understand it in depth, initial. So to me, it's like, if you are looking at money all the time, if you are looking at working all the time, the person is so money minded, but actually money important. Yes, it is crucial for our survival. So how do we actually balance this? Have the equanimity in moderation, practicing moderation in our life, whether this is too little of this or is too much of this. Yeah. So the same goes with desire, same goes with money, same goes with even food. Okay. I was just thinking, because I love to eat. Yeah. And and the reason why I put on weight is because I'm not able to moderate my love to eat. I'm not able to not excessively eat, because when I love something, I really eat, I really go all the way out. So this is where I guess when we realize that that we can practice moderation, at the same time we can also practice what we like, right? So going after money, yes, it's all right, as long as we hold a certain virtues, as long as when we go after an income, we do not do anything that is not unwholesome, like you say. So it's same with a lot of things that we do. Many of us struggle even with love. Some of us tend to like, when you love something, you get a little bit, we get a little bit overboard, a little bit more excessive on certain things, and that creates unwholesome actions, like maybe jealousy, then actions comes in that is not so favorable and stuff like that. So I guess this is where I beginning to understand, okay, that is where we need to have a balance in what we do. Always keep ourselves in check. We are doing this, whether, we are doing this in the right way. Are we doing this in the correct way? Are we doing this, is it over? Is it too much, or is it too less? It's like, if we were to not do something, this is also not good, right?
Exactly.
So if I had this conversation with a friend, actually, thinking, if this is not good, then I don't have to do it at all. I say, if you don't do it, then you are not getting anywhere, right? So it is like a struggle whether to do it or not to do it. But I guess I've gotten the answers, is that when you do certain things, just keep yourself in check, whether you're doing it moderately or non-excessively. Whether this the actions that we do, or the words that we say, whether it's wholesome or not wholesome. Exactly. I think that is really how we can look at life, because many things we can't avoid. We are dealing with people. We are dealing with a lot of different character of people. So what they project, if we know our virtues and we practice our virtues, I think that doesn't shake us. Whatever comes from external doesn't shake us. So our emotion become a little bit more, I would say, calmer. And we are more composed. So we know what we are doing. We won't react. We will just respond, because we know that with these virtues that we are practicing, we can see the things very clearly. That is I think that's what I discover.
And
right
also
now.
Liza, what you said is really true. If the embodiment of the virtues is really strong within us, no matter what rocks the boat, because life is a cycle of up and down and series of challenges. Nobody is free from this, right? Nobody has zero problems in their life. So when the virtues are strong, you're really well grounded and you're able to see things clearly. And also for the people who, when challenges come, actually, I would also go as far to say that this is a good opportunity to develop the virtues that you may not have at the moment. Or, when some people, this used to happen to me a lot, when there would be an argument, I would blow my top, I would explode like a volcano, and there's all this emotional stuff. And after the argument, I go like, oh, I wish I didn't say certain things, because I said it only to hurt the other person so that they would back down and I would win the argument. The objective was winning, right?
Right.
And a lot of people do this, right? So but in the end, even though you've won the argument, nobody really remembers that. People don't remember who you are. They remember how you made them feel, right? So in an argument, like, even though you win, even though you might be right, but people are really, they don't want anything to do with you anymore after that. You start burning bridges, you start losing friends, and you start building walls. And all these things end up as, you feel very lonesome, and then you start to build self-defense mechanisms. But actually, the problem is that we were not strong on the virtue of love, for example. Sometimes apologizing is not about who's right or wrong, but it's about doing the right thing. It's about trying to be as aware and as conscientious as you can for another person's feeling, for example. So as we, maybe when we go through arguments, if you have this problem too, like, you feel like, I'm going to just attack the person personally. You see this a lot in Facebook comments, right?
Right.
a lot of people attack
some of
them
that, like an eye for an eye,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point of attacking someone personally to win an unrelated, on an unrelated point to win an argument? It doesn't make sense, right? So when you start doing this, it starts reducing your credibility, and that's the intelligence aspect. So, when we're talking about being loving, there's also, you also require a bit of, cleverness, tactfulness to deal with these things, right? And then you also need some inner strength to restrain yourself. Sometimes it's really easy to roll things off the tongue and then go, crap, I shouldn't have said it. But you cannot pull it back. It's impossible to pull it back, right? Once it's said, it's said. You can apologize for it, but it's been said. So that inner power to also restrain yourself is also very important in the aspect of love. And like this, how do you decide, like Liza was saying, about wholesome and unwholesome desires? How do you decide what is wholesome and what is unwholesome? And that doesn't mean you just throw away all the stuff that is not good for you. Some of these stuff that's not good is still things you need to do in order to gain the knowledge and the experience to develop the virtues, right? So some of these virtues is like what Liza very nicely posted here. It's like, the virtue of loving kindness, of generosity, honesty, constancy, and moderation, right? So this is, this is also from Master Tra's books and stuff, that it's very easy to understand that if you're not successful in life, if you're having certain desires or addictions that may not be truly in your long-term interest in developing your wealth, right? How do you start developing generosity? How do you start caring about other people? How do you develop honesty? How do you develop, what are you going through in your life that you can start to see where the problems are and which virtues you're lacking?
Correct. I guess also there is another that I looked at, at this area that I'm looking at. When I was little, when I was young, a very young girl at that time, I was walking through, I remember a path where there is a lot of beggars, on the street. And I was like looking at them, there are so many of them. I said, what can I do that I can help them? All of them, So right now I come to realize, yes, you need to have money, to help them, right? So in order to have the money, you need to have constancy of aim and effort, right? You need to really work to get the money, and then you can help a lot more people. So
exactly.
This is where in each of these virtues, there's always there is something that you can actually enhance it with, and there is a requirement for it that you can use to actually make yourself a better person. Yeah. And in being a better person, you are able to serve, you are able to help out, those who are in need. You are also able to help yourself, your family, and everyone. See, it covers everything. Not just like, for me, I look at the beggars and I was thinking, what can I do to help them? But if I were not working, I want to help them, I can't help them, And if I were to work and I don't concentrate, it's the same thing. But if I overwork myself, then it's another thing. I create another problem in my life, right? So it's always constantly a lot of things that we need to balance. So balancing the virtues is really an important thing. Too much of loving is also not good. Yeah. And too much of generosity is also not good. All right. This I have a story that I can share. Generosity, where you want to help, you want to. Let's say, for example, there was this lady. It's actually a real story. There was this lady who wants to help dogs, right? And she had so many dogs in her home, and she was asking for donation. Yeah. And when we were listening to her on a video, she mentioned that her son left her, all right, and she's alone, and she's feeding the dogs, and she has no food and all this. So we were thinking, yes, you want to be generous. Yes, you want to help the dogs. But in turn, you are not thinking of yourself. You're not loving yourself in a way that, you have you have spent all the money in just helping the dog.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is already an overaction, action that is already excessive. You're not thinking of your own wellness. You're not thinking of your family wellness. You actually, whatever you work, the money that you get or the money from your son given to you, you spend it all on the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is sometimes where we don't see things. We know that we have a good heart. We know that we want to help. We want to do something, but always keep ourselves in check. Yeah, to see the balance. Yeah, even honesty also. There's also how you say it, too honest sometimes will also create a lot of things. Yeah. Not that I'm saying to lie, but we have to use our discernment to see how do we project this honesty out. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So everything is moderation is always the best. Even in our emotion, in our thoughts, in our food. In eating durian.
in the food, yeah.
I miss durian. Yeah. So this is actually a struggle of many. Yeah. Sorry, Sundar. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this story you shared, right? I think it's we see this a lot, and then there's a lot of people. I've noticed that sometimes you see like these ads where they're asking for help, for donations to help with the dogs or the orphanages or things like this. And you have two large groups of people generally. One would say that, oh my God, my heart bleeds for them and I just want to find a way to help the cause, right? And you'll have another group of people, they'll be saying, well, this is not really my problem. You kind of put yourself in this situation. Why are you asking for me for help now?
Right.
And what you said is really true. So when we look at this example and we think about the virtues, this lady who's helping many dogs, helping their livelihoods, she's very loving, very kind. She has a really big heart to do these things. And she's very generous too, right? Whatever she has, she's sharing very generously. We don't know about the honesty part. That doesn't really come into this, I guess. And she's also very constant in her aim and effort. It takes a lot of work every day to clean up after like 20, 30, 50 dogs, every
It's a
day
lot
to
of
feed
work,
them.
yes.
Yeah, prepare the food, clean them, vaccinate them, give them medical treatments, and also to make sure that they're not fighting with each other and all these things. It takes a lot of work, right? So a lot of effort put in there too. But maybe where she's lacking is on the moderation part. So like Liza rightfully pointed out, this is one aspect where, if you're not, all the things she's doing, all very good, right? But if you're not moderate, you'll see that certain other aspects of your life start to break down. So like you start losing this relationship with yourself, you start losing the relationship with your family, and possibly also your health starts to deteriorate, because most of the things you're doing is for the dogs. Everything is for the dogs, right? And then you notice that also after some time, because one virtue is being affected, you'll notice that the other virtues will start to get affected one by one too. So if your health starts deteriorating, well, guess what happens next? You don't have the power to continue doing what you want to do. If you don't have the power, you start, and you're not able to manifest your love in a physical manner, you start to go inward and start to hurt yourself. A lot of people with a big heart, this is what they start doing. They start blaming themselves. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing enough? And it starts to become the opposite. So that quality of moderation, really, really important. And then to be also, honest with yourself. How many people can I really help without compromising my situation, right? So let's say 50 dogs is crazy, man. But and maybe you can do this like for a good 5-10 years. After that, you need to start asking for donations because you can't do it on your own anymore.
Right.
And what happens when the dogs have puppies, right? Now you're really in trouble because you can't give away the puppies. You got such a big heart, you're gonna keep them too, right? Yeah. So how do you do that? So a good way to like think about this is that, okay, maybe if I can do like 5 dogs every year, so if we get dogs rehome, then I can take on more. If I don't get dogs rehome, then it just stays at the 5 or the 10 per year. And if there's more than that, we can find ways of getting other people to foster, getting other people to help, but not compromising your own self. And this way you'll notice that you have the ability to go long term. You can go maybe for your entire life taking care of 5 dogs, no problem. Right? But 50 dogs, maybe after 5 years you're burnt out, man.
Exactly. That's where I guess many only think of external, trying to help out. There's so many things that you want to do. I mean, spiritually, of course, it is good to have loving heart. It is good to want to help others. But at the same time, we have to think about ourselves in a healthy way as well. Yeah, because if we don't take care of internal, we don't take care within us, then stress starts coming out. So when stress starts coming out, many things start developing. Yeah, then you start blaming here, or you start blaming others. You start blaming yourself, and you get agitated or you get angry very fast. And all these things. So it's the same like how we deal with people around us. I guess once we are able to cultivate that virtue within us, and also we can look at things at a broader picture, like for example, if the person is not coming from an area that you felt that the person should, there is an expectation there. But if you are able to balance that expectation, then I think relationship should be at a good start. It will be on a very good ground. You'll be able to understand each other in that sense. So there's so many things that comes out good from developing this I think these virtues within us. There are also virtues that we need to acquire. right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
And
none of
also
us
there's
are
always,
perfect.
yeah, and there's always different levels of truth, right? Different
Correct.
levels of development. As soon as you think like, okay, when you start to examine your life and you say, okay, what are my current addictions or desires, or how am I spending my time, my energy? And you go like, I always wanted to achieve this goal or learn this new skill, but I never have time. A lot of people say these things. I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't have time. How come you don't have time? Right? So if you
Right.
actually look into your life, if you start looking into where your time goes and why you can't do the things that are important to you, then you start finding stuff where, maybe you have over invested in certain things which are maybe not necessary, right?
Yes.
And one thing was also about different levels of truth. There's also different, as you start to practice the virtues, as you start to develop yourself and you get on this path of spirituality and character building, right? You start to realize that and you really live this life, right? You start to realize that, oh, actually, I can do better here and I can do better here. And you start to realize that a lot of things we're doing out of culture, out of habit, or out of what is accepted in the societal norm, right? And it may not be useful, right? So if you start thinking about things, about where you're spending your time, then you start thinking, but is this really necessary though? Or is that really necessary? And, just to give you one example, I thought, in the past, of course, when we're kids, we had the I think most kids have this problem where we steal money from our parents. I did. I don't know if you guys did, but I did.
I did that too.
Yeah, because that's your only source of income, right? And
I hope my
parents.
kids are not listening to this.
Yeah. So when you're like 5, 6 years old, hey, it's kind of okay. You don't know any better, right? But then when you're like 20 years old and you're doing this is not cool, man. You can't be stealing from your parents at like 20, 30, 40 already. Come on,
Right.
So, your understanding starts to develop, right? But as a kid, you would think this is okay.
Right.
It's okay to take money from my parents without them knowing. So
this is very, very true.
Yeah. So as you grow, you also see your understanding starts to develop. And then it may go into things that are non-physical. So one thing that happened to me very recently was about, how we say a lot of these things are from Master Tra, we learn from him, So, okay, physical non-stealing, we get that, right? So I thought like, okay, I'm always checking myself, am I doing this wrong? Am I doing that wrong? And I thought, yeah, cool. Everything I'm doing is about right. And, then I realized that, one time, on Mondays and Fridays at Prana World, we were doing financial healing and we were talking about the chakras, right? So a lot of this information about the chakras, if you notice the ancient teachings about chakras, they always describe a 7 chakra system. And if you had to visualize it, they would have like petals of the chakras. And in the middle of the petals, there'd be like a picture of an elephant or something like this, right? Okay. But Master Tra had invested the time and finding clairvoyance to look at what energies the chakra were emanating and how the chakras, what are the colors of these energies and things like that. So he actually went through a lot of effort into getting the right drawing, the right design, and went through many versions of this.
And the right techniques, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, because it's publicized on a lot of websites, my foolish self also thought, hey, this is okay to be shared. Little did I realize that actually this is copyrighted information. By doing this financial healing courses and teaching people about which chakras are affected, I had also organized a bit of information to teach them about chakras. And I was using Master Chua's drawings of the chakras, which was not mine to share. So actually I was stealing from the teacher, right? And then I went for a course where they told us about copyright laws and things like this. And then I started thinking, oh my God, I thought I was being so good and not stealing anything. And then I realized, how much effort does it take to produce, like Master Chua said this, right? How much effort does it take to like produce a chair? You wouldn't steal a chair, right? So imagine the amount of effort it takes to produce a workshop or a course or a drawing of a chakra, much, much more than a chair. So why would you steal that, right? There's a lot more time and money invested into developing those things. So why would you? And, similar to that, I think what's culturally, in Malaysia at least, what's culturally acceptable is watching pirated movies, downloading pirated songs, right? Because it's cheaper,
Right.
Or even for that example, parking illegally outside buildings. You don't want to pay the proper parking fee, so you park illegally thinking you're saving money. Actually, you're stealing. Actually, you're stealing. What you're doing by parking illegally is you're actually blocking the flow of traffic. So what you're doing is you're stealing time. You're forcing people to wait in traffic when they shouldn't have to wait. So the law of karma says what you give is what you receive. So if you're stealing money, guess what? Money will be stolen from you. If you're stealing time, time will be taken from you. You notice that your payments come late. Your payments get delayed. Things that are owed to you are not given to you. If like me, if you're stealing knowledge, well, guess what? In the future, if I were to produce something, my intellectual property might also be compromised. But that's my karma to sort out. That's my lesson to learn, right? So when we have this self-awareness about what you're doing, then you also realize, like, okay, how can I improve? Now, it's okay to make mistakes, right? Don't beat yourself up. Now that you've made the mistake, learn the lesson and stop doing it, right? That's the proper attitude.
Correct it. That's the most important, right? To correct it when you know that it is wrong. Yeah, that is where many of us, when we look at things, we beat ourselves up when we do something that is not right, or we did something that is not wrong. But I think the lesson here is not to beat ourselves, but to actually learn the lesson. All right, and correct it. So as you correct, as you go on, I think that in that action you develop more merits, okay, to actually help you out again. Yeah, like you were saying, about the different level of truth. Yeah, it is actually from my point of view, I look at it is many of us. We look at things at a fundamental level. Yeah, that is just the top of it. But when you go deeper, then you will discover even more and more and more. So there is always first level, second level, third level. I know there are more other levels that I've read about 5 different levels of truth, and all that. Yeah. So the more deeper you go, the more how you discover things. See, when a person has a different opinion from us, there is actually no good or right. There is, like, for example, if we are on a topic and the person has a different opinion, okay, doesn't mean that the person is wrong or doesn't mean that the person is right. It's just that they come from a different level of truth, right? It is based on their knowledge, what they are exposed to. Yeah, it based on their perception also.
Exactly.
And their beliefs and all that. So everything comes in like in how you say in many levels. Yeah. So I guess in order for us to actually understand the person, understand that there is different level of truth that would give us the better understanding how people think, how others have a certain ideas or certain opinion that might not be the same as us. However, they might not be wrong as well. Yeah. So
exactly.
That is one way of
truth has many.
Yeah.
Yeah, truth has many perspectives and many levels as well. So someone might be, from their experience, they might be speaking about their truth. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sundar, I think our time is running out.
Yeah.
Before we end, I would like to share a story. Shall I? May I? Okay.
Yeah. I would love to hear it. Yes.
All right. This is about there was a little boy whose the family was very wealthy. Yeah. And one day the father took him to a trip to the country the aim is to show the son how poor people live. Yeah. So when they arrived at a farm of a very poor family, they spent a few nights there. Yeah. And after that, after the few nights, on their return, the father asked the son, did he like the trip? So the son said, oh, yes, it was really great, Dad. I love it. Then the father was like, stunned from what the boy replied. So the father looked at him and said, did you notice how poor people live? He said, yeah, I did. Father, is it then, can you describe how poor did they live? What is your impression of the trip? So he said, well, Dad, we have only one dog. They have 4 dogs, right? In our garden, there is only a pool. They have a river that has no end. We have expensive lanterns. They have stars above their heads at night. We have patio. They have the whole horizon. We have a small piece of land. They have endless field. We buy food. They grow it. We have high fence to protect our property. They don't need it. Their friends protect them. So the father was really stunned and he couldn't utter a word. You said. Then the boy said, "Thank you, Dad, for letting me see how poor we were."
Oh my God! Yes.
So the moral of the story is: true wealth, as well as happiness, is not measured by the material things. It is the love, the friendship, and the freedom that are far more valuable. Yeah. So I guess that story touches my heart, when I read it.
It touched me, man. It touched me.
So yes, okay. We will end for today. Yeah. And we will
Thank
see
you so
all
much, Liza.
again. Yeah, we will see all again next week. And stay safe.
Wednesday.
And thanks to the next Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.